Hey you all, welcome back to the Three Rings, and today we're talking about healthcare and preventative healthcare, and how our personal habits are important, but also how our government and societies could be providing better healthcare for the longevity of their people. So this video is going to attack it from two ways. Again, the personal care side, our own preventative care, and from the community side and our government's obligation to keep its communities healthy, strong, and living longer. So the two countries we're going to be going over today with our examples for healthcare, as in the broad sense of what societies and governments should be doing, are going to be America and Japan. Both countries have insurance agencies, but Japan runs on a universal healthcare system while America does not. But we'll dive into that later. Our first topic is going to be talking about personal habits and preventative care, and why it is so important for us as individuals to focus on these things. So let's talk preventative care. This is something that is within our control, and why I do believe it is a government's obligation and a society's obligation when it comes together to provide health care that is affordable, if not free. It is also our jobs to stay healthy and do the best we can to make sure that we live a long life and don't have to overuse those healthcare systems. The first thing we can do as individuals is habits. Habits are what build our daily life. Habits are what build us to be successful or not successful in whatever we do. Little incremental changes are extremely important. Whether it's you changing out your bread that is bleached for whole wheat, or completely changing your diet, going from being a more carnivorous diet with less greens to a completely plant-based diet. These habits have huge effects on your body. Building constant habits takes time. My health journey started when I was 14, and the only thing I was really doing to be healthy was working out. I started out with Pilates from, I think, a Beachbody program called not P90X, but Plyo or something. And this was a great introduction. It taught me some yoga poses, and I started doing lots of push-ups. But my diet was still crap, and to be honest, my diet really wasn't the best it's been since about 2 to 3 years ago. So these habits take time to implement, and this reprogramming takes time to implement. And it doesn't help us that corporations are unregulated when it comes to putting horrible stuff in all of our foods, and the fact that the more expensive items are always the healthier items, and the most cheap and available options are always the really bad items for you. This sucks and is due to a lot of things. Processing food is actually cheaper than hand picking it, and all this other stuff, which makes it way cheaper, but processed food on the human body is horrible. So sadly, the pricing of food that is unhealthy has disproportional effects on communities and people who aren't doing as well financially or are more impoverished. And we've actually seen this in many things like food deserts and other things where communities that need the most nutrition, that need the best things, are literally given the worst options. And it's absolutely criminal that our government has allowed this to happen. And it's also criminal that these corporations are allowed to put such addictive and horrible things in our food that, number one, are poisonous and causing cancer. Many European countries ban a lot of American products or additives to certain products that are not allowed in Europe, because they have been proven by scientists here and abroad that, hey, red dye 40, really bad for you. I think it's like benzoatine something that is in Skittles. It's that little bleaching agent that makes the inside of the Skittles white. Horrible for you. It's literally a bleaching agent, and you're eating it. This is really, really bad, and America allows it to be. American corporations are free to kill you with their products, and that, to me, is a crime. But jumping back to our personal habits and what we can do, stress is also a major cause of disease. Our bodies get stressed and then they get sick, and when they get sick, we might need to go to the hospital. Or, in the worst case scenario, a continually stressed body and a body that's continually ingesting products and an environment that is hurting it, like here in the US, which is not the best to its citizens on the food front or the healthcare front, well, you're looking for a really bad disease to come up, like diabetes or cancer. And I think a lot of people, and especially this last decade, and I feel like millennials and Gen Z, have felt that life has been pretty unforgiving when it comes to getting started in it. Buying a home and all these other things, there's a lot of stress going around. So it's important for us to have habits and systems to stay optimistic about the future that we can change and make better for everybody, and how we can optimistically change our lives and better ourselves, and also demand that our government does a better job as well. So I'm gonna give you my personal habits that I go through every day, or at least try to go through every day on a regular basis, that help me stay sane and stay healthy. Number one, the first thing I do when I wake up, and I've been trying to get better at this for about the last 2.5 weeks, I've been pretty solid on it, is meditate. And I've been meditating for a while, but doing it first thing in the morning is something I've been adopting more recently. And it does give me a clearer head. It allows me to stay, I think, calmer in most situations. And I'm only doing 10-minute meditations. I want to get up to 20 minutes and 30 minutes again, but I am busy, so I get those 10 minutes in. And then I also do affirmations. So number 2 would be affirmations. These 2 things right in the morning help me just set a positive vibe for the day. I'm constantly doing research on our world, on politics, on housing markets, because I'm going into real estate and all this stuff, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, sometimes it can be sad, and realizing these things is a good thing. Learning about all these world events and the systems that we need to change, the systems of oppression that we need to destroy, and the new systems of freedom that we need to put in, those things are great to learn about, but sometimes it can make you feel really pessimistic about the world when you realize how much bad stuff has happened, what bad stuff is happening right now. So those first 2 habits that I have allow me to get a good basis. They allow me to calm my brain and start up with a positive ideology of like, hey, I am capable, I am loved, I'm abundant. And then the meditation just calms my brain. It's like, hey, let's clear it out. Let's put in these positive affirmations. Let's reprogram that subconscious. Our subconscious brain runs our life. So telling it things about yourself that are positive and good, being best friends with yourself, is one of the most important things to creating better community, a better society, and just a better life. Number 3, and this is something I've also been doing more recently again, is taking a morning supplementation. Now you might be doing vitamins and other stuff, so our current diets as human beings and the way society is, we are often not getting all the nutrition we need. So I've been taking a supplement called AG1, or Athletic Greens. I'm sure you have heard of it or seen a ton of advertisements about it all over YouTube. I decided to try it, give it a try. I'd watched a bunch of reviews. The advertisements ended up working after seeing them for like 500 million times. I think they knew that, hey, this person is a potential customer, we need to get them. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna cave, I'm gonna do it. So their marketing worked. But I've been always trying to take supplements like vitamin D and other things that I maybe have been deficient in certain times of the year. I've had a hard time staying consistent with taking my pills. So being able to do just a scoop every morning in a water bottle, shake it up and drink it, which it doesn't taste too bad. It has been great for me. And I personally have been feeling great every time I drink it. I feel like a very nice boost of energy. It feels very clean. I don't know if that's just my brain being like, hey, you want to think this is working, so it's working. But I do plan on actually taking a blood test soon to see if my health quotient score has gone up since my last blood test, because I want to get better at monitoring my body. So yeah, the third thing I do is take that supplement. It gets me all my vitamins, my nutritional value I need for my vitamins for the day, and then I go about eating and doing the rest of my routine. So after supplementation and eating, at some point in the day, I like to read. So reading is very important to me. I love to learn. It's one of my favorite things to do. I have just such a hunger for learning, so I usually always have at least one audiobook I'm listening to and like 1 to 2 to 3 books that I'm reading. It's very important. So right now I'm reading You're a Badass by Jen Sicario. I really like it. It's very positive, it's very optimistic, and it's a lot about manifesting. So it's been a very good read for me because, again, I can kind of get into these modes of being pessimistic because I look at the world, I look at the systems around us and how many things we need and must change as a new generation coming into society. So having a book like You're a Badass definitely makes you feel really good, and it's one of my favorite new reads I have been reading. And then I've also been reading a fiction book called Rise of Kyoshi from Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is a great read. I need to get better at reading more fiction, and I'm like halfway through it and I still need to finish it, but it is a nice book to read and I love that universe. So reading, super important, whether it's fiction or self-help. I'm trying to balance that out a little better for me. I'm huge on self-help. I'm huge on reading about history and government stuff. So I want to get better at the fiction part. But whatever it is, reading is super important, and I highly recommend it. Number 5 on my list would be journaling. So I try to journal either somewhat in the middle of the day or closer to the end after more stuff has happened within the day itself, so I can write it out. This is just a great way of recording your life. I love going back on my journals and seeing how much I've changed, seeing the things I was happy about in the past, or seeing the things I even worried about, and seeing how I deal with them now. It makes me really, really happy. So journaling is a great way to work through your thoughts, and it's also a great way just to record your life. Number 6 would also be gratefulness journaling. So this is basically writing down 10 things at the end of the day that you are grateful for. So I'm usually writing down that I'm grateful for my partner, I'm grateful for food, or a video game I'm enjoying, or I just went to a Post Malone concert. Hashtag Post Malone merch right here. So excited, he was amazing. I write those things down because it allows me to, again, tap into this positive energy that the universe has and that we all have inside of us. So gratefulness journaling makes me very grateful. Like even today, we had an earthquake, and I know it's kind of crazy to maybe think about it this way, but I'm like, hey, I'm grateful for that small 0.5 earthquake because it's probably staving off the big earthquake because we're out here in California, or it could be making it worse, who knows, but I choose to look at it positively. I know it's an event that could and will happen at some point, but just allows you to have a positive shift on things, and I think this is really important. Positively shifting your mind to look at the positive in situations is good. Life will knock you down sometimes, obviously, but trying to always have a positive spin on it and take things as lightly as possible is I think a good thing to go by, while still not ignoring the seriousness of situations. So it's a balance. But yeah, the gratefulness journaling has really helped me stay positive and be just really grateful for the people in my life, especially my partner, and just the people I know and care about. So I'm very, very much enjoying the gratefulness journaling. Number 7 is going to bed at a decent time. This is something I'm still working on. I just got home from a Post Malone concert last night, and we got home at 3 a.m. The parking lot was horrible. Oh my God. It took us an hour and a half just to get out of the parking lot. So if you're ever going to Glen Helen Amphitheater, get there way earlier. It is one of the worst parking experiences, or getting into the parking is the worst experience. Parking was fine, but it was bad. The concert was great, but nonetheless, getting to bed at a good time is super important, and really getting a good sleep habit going. This is something I want to track in the future, I think with a device called a Whoop or an Oura Ring, but they are a little expensive, and they also have like a monthly subscription, so I'm going to look into those, but I do want to track my sleep better and get better at prioritizing it. I do work 2 jobs, some of them running later into the night because I do bartend, and then another one running early into the morning with my barista job. So I get surprisingly good sleep for the work I do, but I really want to get better at it, and it is proven that good sleep just makes you feel better, makes your emotions work better, everything about it. So those are my 7 habits that I apply to my life that have been greatly benefiting me for the past few years, and some of the newer habits that I've been doing for the past few months or month. So I'd say the hardest part about habits is consistency. My one habit that I've constantly always done is working out, and I do it very consistently. It always usually gets done at least 5 times a week, if not 6 times a week. I'm usually 5 times. I started working out when I was 14, and I am 24 now. So I have been consistently working out on almost a daily basis for 10 years, which is crazy to think about. So it takes time, and that's where I want to get with my meditation. That's where I want to get with like learning languages and other things. But I say reading and working out, I have that down where I do it a lot, and it's very consistent, and I'm getting better at my meditation. It is something that happens, and it's now happening on a daily basis, but before it would sometimes be like, oh, I'll meditate 1 to 2, 3 times a week. Getting it to the daily basis is where I'm trying to get, and it's super important to have consistency in your habits. But again, start small, work at it, you got this, and you'll start to reprogram the life that you have into the life that you want. Or maybe you already have the life that you want, and you just want to reprogram and make yourself happier. These habits have helped me. Hopefully they can help you. Let's continue on. So I do believe that our preventative care and our habits are super important because we are heading into an unknown future. Someone I've been watching recently, Brian Johnston, he's been known for spending $2 million a year on longevity and staying alive. He has a very interesting view on life, and one I actually really, really like. And it's just basically about, hey, if we treat ourselves right, if we treat our bodies with the love and intention that we should, then we will start treating the people around us with the love and intention that we should. We will start treating the world, our planet, with the love and intention that we should, because we truly care about everything in here, in this body, and everything around us. So he's obviously spending an exorbitant amount of money on testing, tracking, and doing all of his data, and he's releasing it to the public, and he's also videoing it on YouTube. Very fascinating watch, highly recommend it. But essentially, he's like, hey, we should want to live as long as possible, not only just to, treat ourselves better and live a good, healthy life, but our world is changing. And this is something I've also believed, is that the world that is coming with the advancements of artificial intelligence, as long as we do not destroy ourselves, will be a world that is unrecognizable in the next 20 to 30 years. And with the advancements in biotechnology from doctors like David St. Clair at the Harvard Universities with de-aging and other things, we are going to be living a longer time. We're going to be living way longer. And we're going to be traveling to space more often, with space colonies, hopefully getting started in the 2050s on Mars, and we're going to the moon pretty soon. Our future is going to look insane. And it's a future I do want to be alive for, but it's also a future I want to ensure that all humans can participate in. These medical advancements, these technological advancements must be for everyone. They can't just be for the richest of the rich. They have to be for society as a whole. So living long and taking care of ourselves will make sure that people like me and you, people who think about a future that is for everybody, who are not obsessed with greed or wanting to destroy the planet for the sake of greed, but people who want to save the planet, who want to see a better future, who want to ensure human rights, we need to survive as long as possible so that our ideas survive as long as possible, so that we can push on a new world that will make the world better for everyone. And that is why I am so passionate about living healthily, and I also want to live healthily and long so that I can be with the people I love. Those are the two most important things to me, is changing the world around me and making it a better place, and living with the people I love as long as I can. And technology and the advancement of it, and the technological advancements of our medical industry will allow us to live much longer. So if we have preventative care down pat when it comes to our habits and our regular checkups, then we will succeed, and we will live way longer, and we will be able to change the world for a much longer time. So let's talk preventative care in the doctor's offices and lab testing. So one thing I still need to get better at, and this is due to the American, insurance system, and also some of my laziness and not looking everything up, is dermatology and my checkups. Now, I used to go to a dermatologist regularly, but my insurance is no longer covered by them because I had to change that, all that fun stuff with the American healthcare system. But routine checkups are important, and having a general doctor that you can go to, getting your skin checked, obviously, and all of those things is important, and I think it's something we should get better at. But again, here in America, it's very difficult because you're like, oh, which doctor covers my insurance? How much is this still going to cost me out of pocket? How much is the copay going to be? It's a very, really kind of scary system, to be honest. If we even have a little something wrong with us, we try to cure it at home first before ever going to the doctor, especially if it's an emergency room visit, because that could be $400 to $500 when you don't take an ambulance. And if you do take an ambulance, it could be $1,500 to $3,000. So preventative care is very important when it comes to, I think, routine checkups and blood work. And blood work is something I want to get better at. I recently took blood work last December because I was getting some stuff checked up. I thought I had a little issue. Thankfully, I did not, but I wanted to get checked up just in case, because I'm like, hey, I'm having some pain. I don't think it's anything bad, but let's get it checked up. I got a little MRI and stuff. Insurance covered a decent amount of the cost. I only had to pay $90 out of pocket for the ultrasound, and then the lab testing I did have to pay completely out of pocket. It was $500 for a comprehensive test, which during that time my money was a little tighter, so that was a little rough, but we got through it. But still, I want to get better at taking routine blood tests. The next blood test I want to take will cost me another $300, and I wish these were things that were government subsidized or that insurance covered, but they do not, at least here in America. So lab tests is something I want to get better at. The lab tests I take are comprehensive ones, so they cost like $300, but they give you everything, and then they give you a health quotient score at the end. So my last one, I scored an 89 out of 100, which is pretty good, I'd like to think, and I want to see where my score is now. And being as it's a $300 test and where I'm at currently, I would love to do these tests on a monthly basis, but right now I'm going to do about 4 times a year. But still, getting these routine checkups, having things checked up will allow you to see where your body's at from a data standpoint. And imagine if we had affordable labs and affordable healthcare, affordable preventative care, where you were able to get things checked up, get your blood checked, and all these things for next to nothing, or completely free if the system was that way. You would be stopping disease before it even happens. Having routine blood work done allows you to keep track of your body. If something's crazy out of order, they'll be like, hey, there's something wrong with your labs. You should get this checked by a doctor. Let's talk. And you could catch a disease way earlier than if you didn't. But again, the American healthcare system in every facet is so much a business and not a system that helps people, that people are, I think, avoiding sometimes preventative care, myself included sometimes, just because I'm like, oh my God, it's so difficult for me to find another dermatologist I like, or I'm afraid it's going to be difficult. It's really daunting, and that's why, I'm big on focusing on my own habits, where it's like, hey, I'm going to focus as much on staying healthy as I can, so I avoid the doctors altogether, but I still need to get checked up. We still should. But here in America, it's expensive, man, and it's a problem. So we have talked about taking care of ourselves, and I've talked about the idea of routine blood tests. You can get these tests for between $300 to $150 from places like Quest Labs, and there's other labs as well. But again, these things are still kind of expensive. And then obviously if you're going to dermatologists, your insurance might cover it, they might not. Dental work, all of those things, very important. And we should be better at getting those things done. But again, the American healthcare system is horrible. Now, when it comes to emergencies, the American healthcare system is even worse. And now we are going to talk about what our society can do for a better healthcare system. So now we're jumping into the part of the video where is our society and our government's obligation on making sure its citizens are healthy. So here in America, healthcare costs are insane. And the country we're going to be comparing America to that has much better healthcare costs is Japan. Now, Japan has a compulsory insurance system that funds their universal health care, and it works really well. So let's talk about how well it works. I have a few facts for you guys. So healthcare costs in Japan, when it comes to insurance, go something like this. If you hold a regular job in Japan and you're making about $2,400 a month, your insurance costs will cost about $135 or so, $135, $130. This is pretty great, and it's not too bad. So let's say you're making a little bit more money, $5,000 a month in Japan. Your insurance cost is about $350. And if you're making really good money, $10,000 a month, your monthly cost for insurance is about $530. Also in Japan, you have free regular exams. This is what we were talking about with here in America. Preventative care and these exams still cost you co-pays and money. It might not be a lot, but it still is a decent amount. And those payments can add up, especially if you have kids and other things. And not even to mention, childcare in America is so fucking expensive. I think that's a big reason why we're seeing declining birth rates as well, as having a child is unaffordable. Now, you have those price points, right? Well, how much does that cover? The Japanese insurance system covers 70 to 90% of all your medical expenses. And there's a guy I watched on YouTube who had a major injury in Japan snowboarding, and essentially he was in the hospital for about 4 months, about 70 days. His total cost between the 2 hospitals that he was in, the surgeries and the recovery, was $4,800. Now, I have seen a slew of videos on TikTok from mothers who have just had babies. And usually these moms are not in the hospital for almost 4 months. But without insurance, most childbirth in the US costs upwards of $50,000 to $60,000. And even after insurance, it costs about $4,000 to $5,000. Japan, a guy who literally has a punctured lung, a heart aneurysm, and a bunch of other issues because of a snowboarding accident, spends 70 days in the hospitals and pays $4,800, compared to a mom in the US who has a baby and only spends a few days in the hospital, pays $5,000 out of pocket. The value you're getting in Japan for that $4,800 compared to the value you're getting here in America is insane. Not only that, some companies in Japan help pay or pay for routine checkups and things for their workers and yearly scans on their health, which again keeps Japanese society way healthier. Let's look at another statistic. On the top 50 countries for cancer, America ranks number 3. That's really bad. And Japan ranks number 48. Still in the top 50, which isn't great, but way, way lower. Now this could be due to diet and environment, also stress as well. But Japan has a pretty intense work culture, and America is also a pretty intense place to live when it comes to work culture, inequality, and other things. But nonetheless, Japan has less people dying of cancer. Now, food has a huge impact on how we live, and also has a huge impact on the longevity of our lives. Here in America, we are eating a ton of processed food and processed meat, and in fact, we eat a lot of muscle of the meat that we eat, right? So the cows, the chickens, and all that, we're always eating the muscle, but we're not really eating any other part of the animal. But in Japan, they tend to eat a lot of the creature that they're eating. So they'll eat sometimes the stomach or the throat or other parts of the animal, and they make it taste really good and all that stuff, and it's actually way healthier for you. But here in America, we're just eating the chest or the turkey leg or the breast of an animal instead of eating everything and all the nutritional value we could be getting from it. Also, we're just hella wasteful. And in Japan, while Japan and America consume about the same amount of levels of grain, they consume way more rice than we do, and we consume way more bread than they do. The overall grain consumption is even, but they lean more towards the rice, we lean more towards the bread, and bread in our bodies turns into sugar, because bread has a high glycemic index. So once our bodies have absorbed the bread, it literally processes it and turns it into sugar, which then spikes our insulin, and if we do this too much, this can lead to diabetes. Japan has a much higher amount of fermented foods being eaten, and it's scientifically proven that eating fermented foods actually helps your gut biome and helps your body way more. So popular dishes from other countries like Korea, like kimchi, are huge in Japan. And kimchi is something we eat a lot in our household. It's really good, it tastes good, and it's just amazing. We also drink a lot of kombucha, which is a fermented drink. Also, in Japan, they drink a lot more tea than we do, a lot of green tea, and matcha is very popular over there. Both of these teas are known to be anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer. Another tea that I really like is robash. It's a tea from South Africa, or from Africa, and is also known to reduce inflammation, and it tastes really, really good. So they just have much healthier habits than we do in the US. But they also have a healthcare system that is way better. So let's jump back to the American healthcare system. There was another video I watched, and it was really disheartening to see, but a mom with a kid who had multiple just issues from birth, like lung collapsing, all kinds of stuff. The bills that her and her husband are paying are upwards of $3 million. Now obviously insurance is paying off a lot of that, but they're still under so much stress from all the bills and all the calls they have to make to get these bills litigated and just understand things with the insurance agencies is ridiculous. And there was one point that this family was trying to get to the hospital because their son was having an emergency, and they decided, you know what, we're not going to call an ambulance because that's going to cost us $1,500 and we cannot afford that right now. So we're going to, risk our son possibly dying and driving super fast to the hospital instead. And the mom was a nurse, so she knew how to make sure her kid was staying alive, but still, they would rather drive 120 miles an hour on the highway and risk not having the equipment needed just in case something happened to their son, because they could not afford another medical bill. And the parents were basically talking about, hey, our son's going to need more surgeries in the future, and we don't think we can afford it. So will we even see our son get to their 10th or 20th birthdays, right? This is so sad that the American system is so greedy that our healthcare system that used to be somewhat philanthropic. Insurance agencies back in the 50s used to be nonprofits that would help people with major emergencies. But nowadays, they are full-on businesses, and the hospitals themselves are full-on businesses. They are run like a business, they are a business, and their business is the life and death of people. Our medical industry in the United States is maniacal, and it is evil, in my opinion. There's not many things I think are evil, but I truly think making people pay millions of dollars for life-saving procedures on the ones they love or on themselves, or hiking the price of extremely important drugs is horrible. And we've seen this happen before. Guy at Eli Lilly raised the prices of insulin, I think 700% to like $600. And he ended up getting like subpoenaed for it by the government or whatever. So a bunch of legal stuff happened to him, but it was allowed to happen for a while. And you can look at the information of these pharmaceutical companies, the investor calls, and all of these things, and we see that they are charging an exorbitant amount for this medication because they know the insurance companies will pay for it. And they do all this stuff, but guess what? A lot of Americans are underinsured because not all insurance is equal. A lot of it sucks ass. And then some people are uninsured. And number one, these drugs should not be sold as a business. If you can cure someone's disease, whether that be diabetes or cancer, you should not make them pay whatever you think they'll pay for it. But these guys know, these people know that, hey, we have a life-saving drug on our hands. Let's say a cancer-killing drug, and one is coming up. We're currently in labs for a cancer-killing pill that kills a lot of cancer, and we've been working on it for the last 20 years. Now, whoever picks that up, whatever company has the patents on that, will be able to charge whatever the fuck they want when it comes to someone wanting that pill, because they know that anyone will pay to not die from that disease. The amount of people I've seen die from cancer, not only in my family, but people around me, everyone's experienced it. So if you know that people will pay for that drug, you know they'll pay whatever price, well then, now you're gonna sell it for that price, whether that's millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you know the people will pay for it, and you know the insurance agencies will pay for it, because it is a corrupt and horrible system. And it's broke. Now, not that Japan's system is perfect. I'm sure it has its issues, but at least you're able to easily get to the hospital without worrying about breaking the bank. Spending months in the hospital will only cost you a few grand instead of a few $100,000. Another story I have from the American medical system is for my dad. He recently had a heart issue about 2 years ago. Wasn't anything major like a heart attack. It was kind of a precursor like, hey, this wasn't too bad, but you need to keep an eye on this, that kind of thing. Cost about 40 grand just for that. After insurance, my parents, I think, were paying around, the 5 to 10 grand mark, I think closer to 10. And he was in the hospital for like 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days, 40 grand. The American system is like this, and it's simple. You pay to live, and if you don't pay, you're either in looming debt for the rest of your life, or you die. Why have we gotten here? Why does that seem like a reasonable way to run a system? And why are people opposed to universal health care and health care that is affordable for all? I think we have made it such a political thing to be like, oh, universal health care, it's bad. No, how is it bad to want people to have free health care? It benefits everybody. Japan has one of the longest living populations because it takes care of its citizens. Okinawa is a blue zone where people live well into their hundreds. Better healthcare leads to better societies, better communities, and people living longer. And guess what? If you invest in your people as a nation, as a country, then your people will want to do more for you. What we're seeing here in America is our government has been doing nothing for us on every end of it. Healthcare, employment, all things, housing, everything keeps getting more expensive, more out of reach, and they keep getting more and more tax cuts to the rich. And our healthcare is ass. People just want to live. and investing in your people by making healthcare cheaper, by making education more accessible, by making housing more affordable, the unrest in this country would go down by so much. We still have a ton of issues to fix beyond those 4 that I just mentioned. But if we just focused on being good human beings to each other instead of being greedy assholes, we could do so much better. And other countries are doing it. Japan is a great example. Other countries like Germany are doing a great job. In fact, in Germany, people live 2.5 years longer than they do in the US for the lifespan. America could be doing so much better. And for a country that is all about its exceptionalism and its, love for freedom and being one of the best places on earth, we sure do a shit job at taking care of our citizens. So, in conclusion, there's a lot of things we need to do. What we have power to do right now as individuals is take care of ourselves with better habits and reprogramming our brain and staying positive and eating healthy and working out and working each day to get better towards our goals. Those are important things. And that's what me and you can control. And then we have to group up together, vote in officials who will do better jobs at making sure healthcare is affordable. Also, ourselves getting involved in government, ourselves running for office, ourselves starting businesses that help people have better, more affordable healthcare. Because it is me and you that get to change the future. We are the next generation. We are the ones who will change how things are run. And it is up to me and you to get things done. And I'm so passionate about living longer and staying healthy longer so that I can change this world we live in, so that you can change this world we live in. So we need to be our best, healthiest, most loving selves. And that is why personal habits and personal responsibility are so important, so that we can build a better, stronger community of people around us and build a better and stronger country, society, and world as a whole. We are all connected. We are all human. And we all deserve to live abundant lives. And there's more than enough out there for all of us. It's only a few people that are super rich, super old, and super corrupt that are holding us back. But we have the power, through tenacity, through love, to change things. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.